the moment it's a trying time overall, not specifically to Leeds, up and down the country. It's a trying time for independent venues. You know, as I just mentioned, there's always going to be a core group of fans, but we're finding a lot now that the general public will be a lot more inclined to spend money on going to festivals and bigger events, and you know, making a weekend or a week out of it, as opposed to coming and supporting like smaller local things.
It's a tough world to get in as a venue owner, to sustain a venue that can be successful year upon year upon year upon year. Being an independent, you've got to be on your game and keep working at it. So to anyone wanting to open a venue, just good luck.
We've probably got too many places, if anything, fighting for the same kind of stuff. So I don't worry about the immediate future of music venues in Leeds. I think it's pretty healthy in terms of what we've got here at the moment. So you know, you've got new places like the Hedgerow opening, which is, you know, similar size venue to this one. I think if anything, it's going to go the same way as all the food in Leeds, the burger places. You're just going to end up having too many and people are fighting over them.
As much as a few venues have closed down, more have opened up.
I think there will always be new venues as Leeds changes. Leeds is always changing. I've been here 3 years, that's changed loads. So yeah, there's always room for more, but the ones with no one of the best will probably stay.
People are always going to find out a space for alternative music. There's always, you know, the demand for it will wax and wane, and you'll see waves of popularity and stuff, but there's always a core group of people that are going to want to find out that space, and they will do so.
Well, I think they pick off where the others have left off, really. Like a lot of the cockpit stuff has moved here to the Brood now. Some of it's moved to Belgrave, some of it's gone up in scale to the academy, and some of it's disappeared, some of it's not come back to Leeds, some of it's gone elsewhere, like Manchester or London.
I mean, independent places kind of have that nice feel to it, more of a community feel, I guess. You know, when you've got an independent venue, it feels more part of Leeds or whichever city it's in. You know, it's the same as shops, bars. You know, all these places, if they're independent and they're you know, they'll feel more like a part of the community.
Independent venues remain accessible for anyone to play, to organise shows, to put on events that wouldn't necessarily have a chance in a bigger venue, really. It's a size thing as much as anything else, really. And when you're putting on an event and there's only hundreds of people rather than thousands who are going to come to it, it's perfect.
It's definitely the intimacy, and it's more personal. Like, you go to the arena, it's hundreds of people there, like between you and the band. I feel like smaller independent venues, it's much more you and the band kind of experience. It's always felt throughout the set as well.
Low ceilings as well, so everyone's just kind of crowd surfing almost at the ceiling, which is kind of cool.
Every major city in the UK should offer this kind of space, not only for you know, national touring bands, but for the local community as well. I think it's very important to have that kind of grassroots connection with the local music scene. And you know, not you can't start out and go into your academies or your bigger size venues. Everywhere's got to have a small space for people to tour and play and hang out. And I think, yeah, it's very important to the scene, both locally and nationally, that these kind of venues exist.
Yeah, I don't think there's any bands who have gone straight into the big time like they will. They tend to come via here, and a lot of the time they come back here as well at the end. Like for instance, we had Graham Bonnet in yesterday, or the day before last. We had a guy called Graham Bonnet in. I didn't know who he was. Nathan didn't know who he was, and in soundcheck he started singing "Since You've Been Gone" by Rainbow, which in turn turned out to be his song, and that's who he is, Graham Bonnet from Rainbow. So he played stadiums and arenas, and he's a bit older now. He's got a new band, and he's coming and selling out places like this. So that's that as amongst the upcoming bands, we've got the downcoming bands, or the downgoing bands as well. But that's really good because the fans have been out. People get married, people have kids, stop going to shows, there's less of them, and they get a bit older and they can come to somewhere like this where it's comfortable and watch one of their childhood heroes, which is really good.
For example, we've got a band called DMAs on tonight at Belgrade, which is completely sold out, but they played Hedgerow only about 5 months ago. So Hedgerow's like 150 capacity, they sold out that, and now we've gone up to Belgrade, which is a 350 capacity show. So it's quite good to kind of develop bands, or like get a band in Hedgerow and then see them kind of build up, especially so quickly. I think it works quite well, like in relation to each other. You can have your smaller bands, and then you can, if they get bigger, then you've got somewhere for them to step up to that's still kind of in your control, I guess, and you've got kind of, you've got the venue there.
I think that you'll see a lot of bigger bands come through smaller venues. I think I know people always say it's like a rite of passage, but I think you do need to play these smaller venues. The depressing fact is that there's so many artists out there with management straight away, and they don't need to play these small shows. They'll get good bookings, and you'll get even bands that are getting paid fees without any music online. It's just the music industry is such a big thing now that the kind of days of bands having to traipse across all different venues before they get bigger, it's not as like that now. I think you'll still see a lot of smaller bands grow and get bigger and play bigger places, but a lot of the bands now will be starting off at a higher level. And if you've got management and a booking agent, you'll be starting off at probably a higher level than bands would have done in the past. That's why I don't think you'll see bands that get to that huge point, like Alt J, like the XX. You won't see them playing these smaller places as often. They'll probably start off with slightly bigger venues. I'm not saying they're going to go to 500-600 capacity venues straight away, but I think they are starting off at a better point nowadays, especially if they're signed and they've got management.
And there can be an absolute multitude of reasons for venues to closing down, whether it's lack of business, lack of funding, lack of just the ability to book the bands into the venues. So each venue has its own story as to why it's happening. Like I say, at the moment specifically, it is increasingly difficult to try and get yourself out there, but I feel like that we've got our foot in the door with this place now. We're constantly improving and better in the place, so I feel like we're on the up and up with it. The Key Club as a venue was born entirely out of necessity. Ourselves as independent promoters, Slam Dunk, we used to do the majority of our shows and club nights, etc., at the Cockpit before it shut down. And with the closure of the Cockpit, we needed somewhere to move already booked shows and our pre-existing club nights into a new space so that they didn't die off altogether and people forgot about us.
I believe the Cockpit had come to the end of a lease, which was a 20-year lease.
We've put a lot of love and a lot of time into this place, but it would be remiss of me to say that it wasn't anything short of heartbreaking when the Cockpit shut down. It was a long established venue that's been in Leeds for a very long time. Long before I started working there, I was going there as a punter. I spent nearly a decade of my life in those walls, so it was a shame to see it go, but again, like I say, these things happen, and we're just trying to create a new space.
Joseph Well, the owners, I think, weren't happy with the business it had and wanted to turn it into a restaurant. They said they would, and that hasn't happened yet. And there are offices upstairs, and I believe that might have been one of the main reasons why that place shut.
I think it's profitability. I've seen with other venues where you look at who they've got playing or who the kind of shows they're putting on. Unfortunately, they can be blogged about artists, hyped up artists, but if they don't get body stood or and drinks over the bar, essentially, the profitability that putting on those events can massively hinder, especially an independent place, their ability to put on live music.
The first show I came to see here was the Evens, and added to the fact that it was the first time I'd ever been in this building, and the fact that it was Ian Mackay playing a really quiet set. That was really special.
Newfound Glory played at the Cockpit. I would love to be able to tell you the year it was, but I can't. They're my favourite band, and they could easily sell, academy-sized venues, but decided to go and do like basement rooms. So seeing them that late in their career do that kind of show was amazing, and I'll always remember that.
I saw Joan of Arc here, and they were really, really, really good. That was before I worked here as well. So
I've seen so many.
yeah, there's so many.
Maybe seeing bands like Wolf Eyes here, and Melt Banana, and Lightning Bolt.
There was a Floating Points played here like a couple of weeks ago, and that was insane. Simply because it was our busiest gig to date. We couldn't fit another person in that room, and the production of it was insane. Like, they've been playing massive venues around the country and Europe, and then came to here. I mean, they complained a little bit about the stage size because they've been playing like big stages, but the production was amazing. So in that sense, then.
In general, I would say most people will always prefer somewhere like this. You don't always have access to see a band in this intimate environment, especially bands that could play larger venues. For instance, bands like Ty Segall and the OCs, Future Islands.
It's nice to see those kind of bands acknowledge do you know what I mean? As I've said before, everyone came from somewhere. Like, no one goes and plays academy-sized venues overnight. So for me personally, I particularly like to see, excuse me, those kind of bands acknowledge their roots. Recently in here we had Cancer Bats in here. It's cool to see that those kind of guys are like still playing like 300 cap rooms and it being mental, and seeing them enjoy it. So I think that's really awesome.
Watching some of my friends' bands play, doing album launches and having fun and playing some more intimate shows are just as good, really. Like, I remember watching that fucking Tanks album launch here. That was really good.
As for here, I've put on loads of good gigs here. One that immediately stands out in my brain is Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. Andrew was the lead singer of small bands that I used to love called Something Corporate and Jack's Mannequin. He came and played a solo show here, showcasing like music from across his career. And he was just a very nice, very humble, very nice dude, and it was a really awesome show. So I'd probably say that's up there as one of them.
More people are kind of spreading themselves out a bit. Like, we do kind of food really well, so we've got like a monthly food event that we do, and like other bits of food that we try to mix in with kind of gigs. And so we'll do a gig after the food festival. It's just kind of using whatever you can really, just to kind of make it work. Like the Brindle has its ale festival, and everyone's kind of doing little bits that we can to kind of really make it work. It's really hard to just make it work and solo music. You have to do a lot more kind of bar stuff, and kind of we do a lot of free cinema events to get people in. It's just kind of like spreading out and kind of doing whatever you can. Yeah.
It sounds cold, but from a business point of view, we need those kind of things to keep the revenue for the club to be able to offer the gigs and stuff. Like I say, it's becoming harder to advertise and populate the gigs, but people are always interested in a night out.
The venues that were just focusing on music, or something like the Cockpit was only really open as a club night or a gig venue. It wasn't just somewhere you could go in for a drink. It didn't just have that kind of bar like other venues do. I think that's quite a key part of it. It's just being around, even if there's not kind of gigs on. It's just stuff you can do.
Every penny that we earn there helps us to continue to put on the bands and stuff. But from a non-business point of view, again, like I say, the club nights that we have are different to your mainstream, different to going to Prism or Tiger, where you're just going and listening to commercial music. We aim to give much more of a community feel here, much more inclusive, and I know it's a club, but it's a club. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I don't think, out of the venues they've mentioned, I can't see any of them closing anytime soon. But if they did, there would be obviously room for others to step in and take their place, but
Like, this place has only been open 6 months, so it'd be strange if it shut down already. But yeah, we're going strong. So yeah, no worries as of yet.
So long as you're tapping the right people, you'll find that the demand is always there. So I don't see that there's any great danger of losing all the music venues in Leeds. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't say for sure. But I feel like, you know, from you know, we had quite a tragic period in Leeds of losing a multitude of venues in quick succession. But I'd like to say that we're on the up and up again at the moment.